Hey yo, what's going on? Welcome to the Best Day Ever podcast. This is your boy, Tru Sav. Oh, it's going to be a deep one today. Uh, I might as well just get into it. So, like I told you, I was stuck at the house with the wife all weekend. I haven't been at work for a week. So we got to spend some quality time together. And it made me ask myself a really important question. I love my wife. I love her to death. But do I like her? I told her, I was like, I love you to the moon and back. You're the best thing that ever happened. All that good stuff. But some days I don't like you. And I had to think why. And a little background, it's hard living with somebody and seeing them every day because you're used to their mannerisms, you're used to their, dare I say, their get down. And it's little things that started to annoy me. Like I would put something down, then she would move it. Or I'd be watching TV and then she would come lay on me. It'd be like, my man, I just need my space. Like can I breathe? Jesus. Oh, but if you love me, this and this and this and this. And it's, oh my God, it's a hassle. I just had to leave. But I think it's important in relationships. You kind of have to realize it's two people becoming one. It's not just two separate entities. Like the two of you are now one. Well, we're married, so it's a little different. But if you're dating, that should be the goal also. I feel like you have to know who you are as a person before you can be with someone else. Because if you don't know yourself, that's going to cause a lot of situations where you're going to, I guess, sacrifice things that are important to you to please that other person. Or maybe they might manipulate the situation into where you're doing things that they wanted to do, not knowing. But that's for later on in the day. First and foremost, let me tell you how I met her. I think I went over this before with just a refresher course. I met her online. We went on a couple fun and entertaining dates, and over the course of the beginning of the relationship, I had to learn what she wanted, and in turn, she had to learn what I want, and that was an issue because we were raised completely different. I was raised in I guess you can say middle class. I guess we both came from middle class households, but I learned I was in the hood a lot, and she never was. We'll say that. When I first met her, she had a gangster rap CD in her car that had Nelly and Snoop Dogg on it, and that was her gangster rap mix. So it's we came from two different worlds, to say the least. Some of the things that she would do that were weird to me was they went camping, and they had family gatherings, and they have a group text with all of the cousins, and it's not weird because I didn't do those. Well, it was weird because I didn't have an extended family like that. So we didn't do that sort of thing. And my cousins live halfway across the country. That, and it was really just the four of us, my mom, my dad, my sister, and myself. So that was different for me. Oh, by far. But back to when we were dating, I specifically remember after about 5 or 6 years in, I had went to individual counseling, just counseling in general myself, because there was things I knew I couldn't discuss with her that I would prefer to have a trained professional deal with. And in my counseling, my counselor recommended that both of us go. That she has her own individual counselor, I have mine, but then we should both go to couples counseling. Not because there's anything wrong with us, but because it's better to have an independent third party there. It's hard when you involve your friends and family because they're always going to pick sides. They're never going to be bipartisan. They're always going to pick sides. And the problem with talking to your friends and family about stuff is that they never forget. So when I tell my friends and family, oh, she did this, that, and the other, they're not going to remember the times when I said, oh, she was great. She did this, she did that. They're going to remember the bad times, and vice versa. There's still stuff her family, there's things that her family isn't going to forgive me for that she's forgiven me for. So it's best in situations like that to leave friends and family out of it because you love this person. So you're willing to put up with stuff that your loved ones may not agree with. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about. Some of the things, one of the most important things I think that we learned in counseling was what is a love language. So there's 5 different kinds of love language. And the one that, let me start with the first 5. The first one is words of affirmation. Well, maybe I should explain this a little better. Love languages are a way that people they give and receive love. Meaning specifically, number one is words of affirmation. That's if you say, thanks for taking out the garbage, instead of saying, it's about time, I thought the flies were going to take it out. Like that. It's saying positive things, reassuring, helping build their self-confidence. It's those kind of things that will help you communicate in a relationship. Now, the second one would be gifts. Now, this was my wheelhouse, was gifts. And what is it? With gifts, it's more they're thinking about me. Look at what they got me. So if she's at work and I bring some flowers, and then she can show them off to her friends or coworkers and be like, see how much she cares, that sort of thing. Number 3 is acts of service, doing something you know that they would like. So if I know she likes Maxwell, then maybe I would get tickets to a Maxwell concert and have us dress up fancy, get a fancy dinner or something like that. Number 4, quality time. The dreaded quality time. And that's giving someone your undivided attention. So no cell phones, no books, no gazing off into the distance. It's just time that you two can get to know each other a little better. And finally, physical touch. It's holding hands, kissing, intercourse. That's my favorite one. Physical touch. I think it's every guy's favorite. And what I realized in this was, because again, my thing was gifts and gifts and physical touch to an extent. I would buy stuff. That was my thing. I'll buy stuff. I'll take you here. I'll take you there. Like, I know you like this, so I'll do that for you. And when we read this and we learned this, I realized I realized very quickly that that's not what she wanted. Her thing was words of affirmation, quality time, and physical touch. Not the intercourse part, but holding hands, public displays of affection. And I couldn't understand for the longest time. I was like, I buy all these gifts and I do all this. Like, why doesn't she understand it? And then after this, I realized, oh, she doesn't want the gifts. She doesn't want anything like that. She just wants my undivided attention and for me to hold her hand in public. I don't know why, but for some reason, I just could not hold hand in public. I just couldn't do it. Saying the I love you part, that was easy. Expressing how I felt, that was not a problem at all. But I think for me, I never saw my parents do it. I never saw them hold hands in public. I never saw them kiss each other in public. Like at the house, they would. So in my mind, I rationalized it by saying, well, my parents didn't do it, and they were married for 40-some years, so you shouldn't need it. And I quickly realized that was wrong. Well, they weren't wrong, but I was wrong in my assumption that everyone loves the same way, and it's a universal key for everyone. So that was those 5 things. That's just beginning stuff. I guess a prime example of me getting it wrong, and a lot of guys get it wrong, is when we first started dating. My wife, bless her heart, she used to drive down from when I lived in Sacramento. She would drive from Petaluma and would come down for the weekend. And she was like, oh, I want to spend time with you. So I'll be like, okay. So I would take her with me to my friend's house where I would drink, smoke weed, and play video games. And in my mind, in my ridiculous mind, I would say, well, you are spending time with me. You're with me right now. Like, I don't understand what you're saying. Like, and she wasn't getting the quality time that she needed. Like, yes, we were together, but it wasn't in a boyfriend-girlfriend capacity. It was, you're sitting here watching me play video games for hours on end. Now, ironically enough, one of the guys, one of the other savages whose house I used to go to, shout out to Superman, she ended up befriending some of the girls or some of the women that were over at his house, and they actually talk to her more than they talk to me now. So whenever she complains about quality time, I try to bring that up and be like, well, see, if that wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't have met some of the best friends that you had right now. But yeah, she quickly shut that down. But I think that's a mistake that a lot of guys make. Well, yeah, I get it. Your video games or your TV show is important, but I'm pretty sure that your significant other is doing something that that video game can't do. But that's neither here nor there. So another issue that we had, well, I shouldn't say an issue, but something that we also talked about in counseling was different types of relationships you have with people. One of the things that made my wife uncomfortable was that a lot of my friends are females. Like, I enjoy the company of my male friends, but guys are just, they're a problem. Women, you guys are so much nicer. You're so much cleaner. Like, I'd rather go to one of my female friends' house. Their house is clean. It smells nice. There's always food in the refrigerator. Guy's house is like a gas station bathroom. There's the entire house. We don't sweep. We don't mop. We don't dust. We don't clean anything. Like, there's usually a trail just to certain places. There's a walkway to the living room, to the room, and the bathroom. Like, there's no accent pieces. There's no art. It's women are just more agreeable. And what we learned through the counseling was that we had to learn how different types of love are shown. There's I want to say there's 8 different. There's different kinds of love we have for different sorts of situations. The first one would be, ooh, good Lord. Uh-oh. The first one would be praga. Oh my goodness. Pragma, or enduring love. Oh no. I can't count. I can't read, guys. Okay, I take it back. The first one is the gape. That's unconditional love. Altruistic, selfless, unconditional love. Few people seem very capable of this in the long run, and it's suffering for the happiness of other people. The only example I could think of would be Jesus Christ, how he died for the sins of other people, like that kind of love. The kind of love where if you'll take a loss so the other person can take a win. That kind of love. That's very rare nowadays. I can only speak from personal experience, but I don't. Maybe I don't know. I think I have that for a few people. I don't think too many people have that for me. Second kind of love is eros, or romantic love. That would be the kind of love that her and I have. Associated with romantic, passionate, and physical love, an expression of sexual passion or desire, burns hot and bright but burns out fast. So this would be the first 2-3 years. Most people say the first 7 years of a marriage, where it's just all the time, every time. You just can't keep your hands off each other. It's just, oh, I love you, baby. As being an 11-year vet in the game, I can tell you that those days are gone. I mean, I still love my wife. I still think she's fine. I still appreciate her, but it's not like it used to be back in the day. And I mean, I'm old, so it's a different kind of thing. The third one would be philia, or like affectionate love, the love you feel for your friends. It's better than eros, the one we just talked about. It's a represented love between people who consider themselves equal. The word love, in this case, isn't associated with romance. It's a platonic love. For example, Cindy Mac. Shout out to Cindy Mac Facts or Nelly or any of the other Savages. It's I can say I love you, and it's not in a romantic way. It's like I love you like a brother, or I love you like it's someone that you feel like you said you feel equal to, or it's such a bad way of describing it. I would think of it as your comrade, your homeboys, whatever close knit circle you got. That's the kind of love that you display with those kinds of people. After that, it's philatia or self love, not to be confused with narcissism or selfishness. It's necessary to be able to give and receive love from others. And this one is important because it's how can you give something that you don't have? And a lot of my friends that I talk to, when they say, oh, I can't find a man or I can't find a woman and I don't know what's wrong and this, and it's like, well, if you don't love yourself, how can someone else love you? When we did our vows at the wedding, that was one of the things I said was that the two of us, now that we're married, it's not two halves becoming a whole. We're two whole people becoming one. And for two whole people to become one, you have to love yourself. And a lot of times people that are in bad relationships or that aren't in relationships, they don't know themselves, meaning they don't know their likes, their dislikes, their goals, their dreams. And if you don't know those types of things, then it's hard for you to get into a relationship with someone because that's how you get used and abused, so on and so forth. Number 5. Storgy or familiar love. This would be affectionate love felt between friends. However, this love is more like parent-child love. It is not physical or sexual. It's just a strong bond, kinship, or familiarity. Now, we talked about philia being like, oh, this is the love of your friend. But this one is, I've known you since. As a matter of fact, the guy who's making the intro to the podcast, still waiting on that, buddy. I would say it's like that. Like, I've known you since kindergarten. So I've known you since 1988. Like, we go back like 4 flats on a Cadillac. That type of, I know you, I know your family. We do holidays together. We do that sort of thing. That's the kind of love that would be describing. Pragma. That's enduring love. Now, this is the one that I started off with. This is the opposite of eros. This is love that is matured and developed over a long period of time. Old couples that still hold hands. This, of course, is the rarest of the rare because people don't have the patience or desire to watch love grow. And, of course, it's the easiest kind of love because it doesn't require much effort. Both people must compromise and put in equal effort. So this is when you see that couple that's 60, 70, 80, 90 that are still together. And a lot of times those relationships work because back in the day, you didn't have a choice. There was no Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Tinder, none of that. So you didn't have the ability to reach out and meet someone across the globe, across the country, even on the other side of town. You met and you fell in love with someone in your immediate 20-mile radius. And the way that it was set up back then, you didn't get a divorce. If there was an issue, you stuck it out. You dealt with it. You made the best of your situation. And now it's rare because it's acceptable to get a divorce. It's acceptable to have children and not be married. No, it's not me passing judgment. It's just an observation. Like for the longest time, I felt weird because I was one of the only kids in school whose parents weren't divorced. Like I didn't know. Like I didn't know anyone whose parents were divorced. It was everyone that I knew, their parents were still together. There was a few kids who were divorced, but that was very rare. That was a rarity to me. But again, that's neither here nor there. Ludist or lust, I would think, is a playful love. Best described as infatuation, butterflies in your stomach, giddiness when they walk in, feeling of never wanting to be without. This love is like being high. This is when you first meet the person, those first 2-3 months, when there's nothing they could do. And, oh, you fart so cute. And, oh, they're just so sweet. And it's when you're getting to know each other. That's that kind of love or lust per se. once you really get to know somebody, that's when you can really kind of decipher, is this the person I want to be with? Is that so on and so forth? And the last one is mania or obsessive love. This kind leads to madness, jealousy, anger, violence. The balance between eros and ludus is off. People who experience this kind of love suffer from low self-esteem. They fear losing the object of their love, and fear compels them to do crazy things in order to keep them. This is the girl who goes through your phone and won't let you have any friends, or the guy in some cases, or you have to turn on your location or send me a picture of where you're at. And I would agree, it's usually someone that has low self-esteem or has been mistreated or misused in the past. So they feel that that's the way they have to act. Or even worse, that's what they saw at home. And so they think that this is how you're supposed to keep somebody, is by this type of over-the-top crazy behavior and so on and so forth. Oh my goodness. As a matter of fact, well, I guess my wife's not here, so I'll tell you. So before I met the love of my life, I actually ran into somebody like that. I was dating a young lady like that. She was 18 and she had a 3-year-old. I'll let you guys do the math. And when we were dating, it was the same thing. Where are you at? Who are you with? This was when cell phones were just kind of starting, so there was no real picture messages. It was all text messages. But she would call 20, 30, 40 times if I didn't answer the phone. I remember one time we went to a gentleman's club, me and 3 of my friends, and I had put my phone on silent. Like, I told her, hey, I'm out, yada, yada, yada. I'll call you back when I'm on my way home. I put my phone on silent and put it face down. And every now and then you'd see the screen light up because there was a call coming. I turned the phone over when we left, which had to be, 2 hours later. I had 96 missed calls. 96. And I was only in there for 2 hours. And a phone call lasts 30 seconds, 35 seconds. So that means either she called me back to back for an hour, or she would call, hang up, wait a second, call, hang up, which either way is ridiculous. That was not the best relationship. So I mean, God bless her. I hope that worked out for her. But yeah, it's relationships are a tricky thing, because like I was saying, if you don't know who you are, how can you love this person with any of the different kind of loves that we had? As much as I like to pretend that my relationship was so great and all this, there was a point where I didn't know if we were going to make it. There was a few points I didn't know if we were going to make it. The one that sticks out the most in my mind would be after. I would say my wife would probably be the 3rd serious relationship I had, and up to that point, we were. I was always the cool guy in the relationship because I'm Tru Sav, so I was used to people catering to my wants and needs, and I could do no wrong. So it was different because with her, I wasn't the cool guy. I was just this nerdy guy who talked really hood, but she could see right through it, which in hindsight was a good thing. But at one point, I remember it was in February because we got together in August, and it was the same routine. We had gone out, we're hanging out, and I was on my way to Nellie's house, and we pull up, we get to the parking lot, and she just loses it, and she's like, I can't believe this. I came out here for nothing. Like, you always make me do this, this, and the third. I'm like, man, shut up. I don't want to hear that. Just be glad that you're here, yada, yada, yada. And she's like, well, it's our anniversary. Like, we should be at home right now. I was like, anniversary? Like, we got together in August. She's like, it's our 18-month anniversary. I said, 18? If you don't get on my face with that stupid shit, like 18-month anniversary, what the fuck is wrong with you? So I told her, I was like, look, we're just going to go inside. We're going to hang out for a little bit, and then we'll go back. Like, just stop tripping. So we go inside. We're hanging out. So for a second time, now this time she makes a scene about it. Why the fuck are we over here? This and this and this. I can't believe it. Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, look, man, I'm just going to take you home, and then I'm going to hang out. So I take her to the house, and I drop her off. And when I take her to the house, I was like, look, if this is how you're going to act, like, I don't want to be with you. So you can stay the rest of the weekend, but after that, it's a wrap. And I left. And I guess she didn't think I was serious, because the next day she woke up and tried to pretend like nothing happened. And so she was getting her stuff ready to go home. And I was like, well, it was nice knowing you. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, I was serious. Like, I'm not going to put up with that kind of behavior. You're not going to talk to me like that in front of my friends. So she gassed off, drives off. You asshole, this and this and this and this and this. So for the first week or two, I'm like, yeah, it's party time. I'm single again, this and this. A month goes by, 2 months goes by, 3 months goes by, 4 months goes by. And then I was like, man, this kind of sucks. And I kind of realized, like, I thought back and was like, I guess, was she really asking too much? And I thought about it. Of course, I didn't know the different type of love and love languages and all that type of stuff then. But I just thought to myself, would I want to do that? If I got off work and drove to see her and that was the way she acted, would I want somebody to treat me like that? So I kind of had to take a step back and look and think about my behavior and what she had said. And I had to realize that I was wrong. So now came the tough part, was having to call her and try to play it off like I didn't do anything and still be the cool guy. So I called her and we talked, and we ended up getting back together. And I changed my behavior a little bit, but not too much, I can admit. Now, there were still certain things that she was doing that I don't want to say most women do, but the nagging, the complaining, really a lot of her way of communicating was through feelings. I feel this way. I feel like that. I feel like you did this. And I used to always tell her, like, it's facts over feelings, sweetheart. Like, yeah, you may feel a certain way and you may feel like this happened or that happened or I meant this when I said it, but what you need to be concerned about is the truth of the matter. So you can say, oh, I feel like you were disrespecting me because you did this, that, and the third. But the fact of the matter is I was acting this way or that way. And of course, I was wrong. I had read a book by a couple. The name escapes me at the moment. I'll figure it out before the end. And one of the things that the guy talked about in the book was that men and women have different ways of communicating. And obviously, women a lot of time deal with feelings and guys deal with facts. And the analogy that he used to describe it to me was, if you've ever played basketball or a pickup game of basketball, one of the things that always happen is people call their own fouls. So the way he described it was, if you're playing defense on somebody, you're playing good defense, they put up a shot and they miss, and they call a foul, you've got to respect the call. And what that means is, you may not agree with it, you may not even understand it, but you have to respect it. Because when you're dealing with people's feelings, they may not be able to articulate exactly what they mean or why they feel that way. Because some people, some people don't have good communication skills. Some people don't have emotional maturity, and it's neither a good thing or a bad thing, but you have to understand that when you're dealing with people in general, with any kind of relationship, whether it be workplace, friends, or a romantic relationship. There are people that I work that are 40, 50, 60 years old that have the emotional maturity of a high school kid or younger. And again, it's not a negative thing. It's just, you need to understand that and you have to respect that. my issue was always, it's my way or the highway. I'm the cool guy. I'm this. You're going to take it how it comes, and if you don't like it, you can leave. And that's not healthy for either party by any stretch of the imagination. So after the 18-month anniversary and our little hiatus, we get back together. Things are relatively moving in a better direction. We're still not in a good. We're not in a bad place, or we're not in a good place. We're learning how to tolerate each other, and this is 4 years in. Now at this point, she moves to Fresno because she had ended up moving to Sacramento for a job. No. She moved to Fresno first. So she moved from her hometown to Fresno. So this created another issue. Now it was my turn to come down on weekends. So I would come out every now and then, every month or so. I come out there for a week, maybe two, hang out, then come back. But it was the best of both worlds for me because I got to hang out with her, and then when I came back, I knew she wasn't going to come to Sacramento because she had school. She couldn't just leave, and she wasn't going to drive 3 hours to Sacramento. So that put a strain on things because now I'm not really working on it. I can't even lie and pretend to say I was. I was what, 28, 29, living it up. So at this point, this was when even I kind of had to step back and realize, like, she was going to get her master's at this point, and I'm still a personal assistant. I mean, my job paid good. It was a salary job, company car, all that type of stuff. But it wasn't a career. And in the back of my mind, I started to kind of not doubt our relationship, but I kind of thought, where is this going? She's on track to get a career, and I'm just kind of living the life. Like, I didn't verbalize this with her at the time, and I didn't really verbalize it with my friends because how do I explain to the dope boys that, I really need to find a career path, and I really need to start worrying about my financial future. Like that wasn't a conversation to be had. But after she graduated, so it took her 2 years to get her master's. So we went back and forth. She finally moved back to Sacramento. And when she moved back, the pressure was on. Because now, even though she had a degree when we first met, and I just had my little raggedy high school diploma, intellectually we were on the same page. But now it was a completely different story because she has her master's degree. So now more is expected of me as a partner. And so now it's kind of changed the power dynamic of the relationship. Because what was once even ground is nowhere even now. One specific event I can think about, I mentioned earlier, was when I was on vacation at the Gray Bar Hotel in Sacramento. And we got into an argument, and she told me, she was like, look, you need to stop messing up. Because at the time, I was still drinking, smoking, acting a fool. I might be in Vegas one day. I might be in LA the next. It wasn't conducive for a productive relationship. And we were on the phone, and she told me, she was like, look, you're throwing your life away. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're way too smart and talented to be in the situations that you're in. Like, you need better friends. Like, what are you doing? And at first I was upset. I was like, oh, how are you going to talk about my friends? My friends have been there forever. And before I could finish, she cut me off and was like, and look where it got you. And I kind of had to think about it. And I was like, well, yeah. And I'm glad that she said it because it made me realize that the direction I was going wasn't the direction I needed to be, especially if I'm going to be dealing with someone who's a professional. Like, there's nothing cool about the life I was living, but there's the good type of push, and then there's the negative kind of push. I think that happens in a lot of relationships. A lot of times there's there's times where your partner will give you some positive encouragement, and then there was times where there was negative encouragement. I'm not even gonna. Let's see. Can I think of the time that she? Oh, there's too many to remember. We'll leave that to history. But fast forward after I got out of vacation, or I got off vacation, she had ended up getting a job in Bakersfield, and this is when we did the big move. And when we did the move, that was kind of my chance to escape. Let me see that. I had ended up leaving because at first I stayed. I helped her move out there, moved everything out there, got situated, and it was the same thing as Fresno. I would visit for a week or two, be gone for a month, and then she finally told me like we're grown, like we're not in our early 20s anymore. Like you're 30, I'm gonna be 30 in a couple years. Like you need to make a decision, dude. And lo and behold, God in her infinite wisdom helped me make that decision. I told you. Parked in front of my friend's house, got back into the car. I get a check for $3,500, and I'm on the road again. So now we're living together, living together, where I'm there all day, she's there all day, and this puts another kind of pressure on us. Because now, it's one thing when you visit for the weekend. It's another thing when I got to see you every day, all day. And for those of you who don't know, Kern County is the armpit of California per se. I mean, I loved Bakersfield. I loved living out there. I love the food. I love the people, but it's hot. It's hot, and heat does strange things to people. It was, let's see, what is it? May, June, July, August, and a little bit of September. You'd be lucky if it was under 90 degrees. So for 5 months out the year, it's over 90. And I'm talking when you wake up at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, it's already 80. And it doesn't go under 85. So the sun goes down and it's still 80. So that leads to a lot of confrontations. And nothing, I mean, these weren't knockdown, drag out fights or anything. These weren't physical altercations. These were, you're on my nerves. It was little things that couples argue about. Why'd you leave your socks on the ground? Well, I left my socks because you left your dishes in the thing. Well, why'd you leave the milk there? Well, little things that when you are in a new relationship or even an old relationship, like stuff just gets on your nerves. Like you have to learn the intricacies of this person or their quirks or whatnot. And that's what led us to counseling actually, which was a good thing. It's, I think it helps us now deal with issues because it's like, okay, we already had that argument. One of the things that our counselor did do, the thing that I swear by this, I tell everybody, there's a book. I remember this book. It's called The Sound Relationship House. And, as a matter of fact, she's calling me right now. Hold, please. And through the magic of technology, what was a 10-minute conversation was only seconds. So yeah, she knew I was calling. But it's the Sound Relationship House, and it's by a couple by the Gottmans, Gottman. And the love language, like that helped because I understand like how we talk to each other and how we relate. But this one changed the game. It articulated in a way that I couldn't. At least seven different things that goes into your house. The first thing is you have to build love maps. And love maps are important because you got to know how to get to the house, right? So one of the things on love maps is you have to know something about your partner. And I don't mean, they're this tall, they look like this. It's things that actually mean something. Like, for example, when you do the love map, there's, I want to say 15, 20 questions that you should know. For example, it's name my 2 closest friends. What was I wearing when we met? Describe in detail what I did today or yesterday. What is one of my favorite ways to be soothed? Name one of my major rivals or enemies. What was my most embarrassing moment? And there's about 10 or 15 more that if you know the answer to these questions, a lot of issues will be resolved in your relationship just off of that. Because if you know how your partner moves and what they like, dislike, how they're going to respond, and you're being attentive to their needs and desires, they're not going to be upset with what are you doing, where you at. They're not going to feel the insecurities or what's the word? They're not going to feel insecure, or they're not going to feel like you're not there in the relationship with them. Because if you're discussing what you did, how you felt, that's going to make someone feel loved, and that's going to make them want to stay. Now, the frame of the house is trust and commitment. This is what every relationship is based on, not even just romantic relationships. More specifically, the trust that occurs when a person knows that his or her partner acts and thinks to maximize that person's best interests and benefits, not just the partner's own interests and benefits. In other words, my partner has my back and is there for me. I would say that in itself, reading that for me, that made me get my stuff in order. Because a lot of the times when she would call, I would respond like they did in the movies. Where are you at? Well, why does it matter? Well, who are you at? Well, why does it matter? And I would be argumentative and combative because I saw it as, well, why are you in my business? And then I had to stop and think, I don't have business anymore. Like, I have to respect my partner and say, oh, well, I'm with Joe Blow and we're doing such and such, because now that eases a lot of the stress on her mind, because now it's not, is he out there doing this? Is he out there doing that? Because I was a damn fool for a while. So she almost had to check up on me and say, what are you doing? Are you with Nelly? Are you guys out there being savages? What are you doing? So I understand now. The second part of the house, commitment. This means behaving and acting on the behalf that your relationship with this person is completely your lifelong journey, for better or for worse. And it implies cherishing your partner's positive qualities and nurturing gratitude by comparing the partner favorably. Let me say that again. Cherishing your partner's positive qualities and nourishing gratitude by comparing the partner favorably with real or imaginable others, rather than trashing the partner by magnifying negative qualities and nurturing resentment by comparing unfavorably with real or imagined persons. But I never did that because I'm just the best partner. Nah, let me stop lying. I was almost, when we were doing counseling, we must have done 5 or 6 months of this. And of course we didn't go over all of these things in one sitting. This was over the course of time. So I would always think that I was right, because I would give an example of something that happened and I would explain to the counselor, well, this happened, that happened. And I would look at it in terms of right and wrong, or, oh, she did this, so that means that you're the bad guy, and this and this and this. And one of the things that the counselor said, she always had sports analogies. She said, yesterday's scores don't count for today's games. So whatever happened yesterday was yesterday. You got to leave that behind. What's more important is that, like you said, you're reaffirming that you want to be with this person and that you appreciate the things that they do. And when something negative happens, you're not just piling on like, you did this, you did that. You're just like your mom, or you're just like your daddy. You ain't going to be nothing because your grandma was like, that's not going to work. That makes me think of, I used to tell her, I think I'm a funny guy. I have my moments. And one of the things that I would tell her was, when I joke with you, like I tell her all the time, she has a big head. That's my little big head. And I would go back and forth with her. We'd have a little witty banter. And I would make jokes like that. And she'd be like, oh, really? Really? Well, that's why your uncle smokes crack. And I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, babe, my jokes are lighthearted and witty. Yours are cruel and insensitive. Like, I understand that you're not really good at cracking jokes or anything, but it's playful banter, my dear. And like you said, like you need to nurture the person you're with and let me know that it's okay. I don't need you to tell me to tell me the obvious, at least not in that kind of way. Jesus. So after you have your foundation for your house, the second part is shared fondness and admiration. The antidote for contempt is to strengthen fondness and admiration, express appreciation and respect. We kind of talked about that in the very beginning. That should be really simple. It's easy to unknowingly have contempt for somebody. If you feel, again, this goes back to knowing you, if you feel like you're not where you want to be or where you should be, it's easy. That's where contempt is bred. Prime example, I didn't go to the gym like I was supposed to, and she would always go. And so I found myself almost starting a fight when she would go. It's like, oh, well, so the gym more important than me? Is that what you're saying? You'd rather go work out? And now it seems like such a pitiful argument because it's like you're trying to do something to better yourself. And because I'm sitting at home eating Twinkies and bonbons, I'm going to try to manipulate you into not going and to try to make you feel bad about it. Like that was a low ball move. After that, let's see. Second part of the house, turn towards and not away. This is more her wheelhouse than mine. Well, no, this is mine too. Let me stop lying. More specifically, state your needs. State your needs, be aware of bids for connection and respond to them. Small moments are building blocks. So, let me stop lying. I don't really get angry anymore because I'm old. I just don't have time for it. Maybe when I'm 60 or something, I'll be the grouchy old man. But when arguments or conversations get to a certain point, I just shut down because I don't want to yell and scream and cuss and fuss. So once the conversation gets to a certain point, I'll stop. I just won't talk, which is good, kind of. But the problem becomes when it's day 2, day 3, and I still don't want to talk because I'm upset. Like that's when it becomes a gray area. And so this kind of reminded me that lines of communication should always be open. And yes, we were upset in that moment or we were upset with a particular topic, but that doesn't mean that you need to turn your back on them and not talk to them because then it's emotional abuse is what it is. If I'm not being the same loving, cuddly, hugging person that I was, now you're in a situation where that's abusive. It's the same thing. I don't want to say it's the same thing, but holding back affection and emotion is a form of abuse. It's not the way to go. You kind of have to be mature and be like, look, we can disagree, but let's put this issue to bed for right now. And then tomorrow when we calm down, we could talk about it. And once you talk an issue out and you resolve it, like I said, that's a building block to something else because now that you've talked about it and worked it out, you see how easy it is to do and you can put it behind you. So when the next issue comes, you know how to act and how to respond and it's not that big of a deal. After that, it's the positive perspective, positive approach to problem solving and the success of repair attempts. So this is kind of what we just talked about where you can't look at it. You can't take things personal. You have to understand that people come in with their own thinking and their own ideas of how things are supposed to work. And you have to err on the side of positivity. You have to feel, well, yeah, she might have said that I'm fat and ugly, but she's just saying that because she loves me and she's upset and she doesn't know how to crack a joke. But I mean, that's really simple. Just being positive, not resorting to name calling, physical violence. Like I said, not talking to people or that's why your mom, this, that, like the really type of ugly stuff. It's not a good place to be. Again, after that, it's manage conflict. Really quick, it's accept your partner's influence, dialogue about problems, and practice self-soothing. Again, it's like I read this before or something. There's a difference between managing a conflict and resolving it. There's certain things that you're just not going to be able to resolve. She likes Pepsi, I like Coke. That's just going to be that's just how it's going to be. I'm not going to change her mind. Now, resolving a conflict is, I don't like that you leave your underwear on the floor in the bathroom. Or if I say, I don't like that you leave dirty dishes in the sink and then expect me to do it. Like, that's a conflict that you can resolve. That's something that I'm telling you that you're doing something I don't like, and there's a way for you to resolve it. Stuff like that is simple. But then you have to realize there are certain things that both of us might not budge. And you kind of have to be adults about it with each other and just say, all right, well, if that's what it is, we'll leave it at that and we'll move on. And that's just one of those sensitive subjects that we don't talk about. Furthermore, conflict is natural and it has functional positive aspects. There's a difference in handling perpetual problems and solvable problems. So, like I said, conflict, there's always going to be, right now, she just left to go on a girls' week. And before she left, she's like, well, why don't you clean the house before I leave? I'm like, well, I'm going to be here for 4 days. Why do I need to clean the house right now? Well, because the house is dirty. And because this and this and this and this. It's like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to get into it with you. I understand that that's going to be a problem that's always going to come up because you clean, your idea of what clean is different than mine. You want the house to look like what do you call them? A model home every day. You got to dust and sweep, and there can't be a dish out. I have a little bit more relaxed attitude towards that. Clean it once a week, and if it gets too bad, we'll clean it up here and there. But those are the kind of things that you need to know about your partner and be able to deal with conflict, even decision making. Especially finances, that's always going to be something that's an issue. You need to know who's more apt to do the financial stuff, or who's more apt to do the kids or setting up stuff. And that's the thing where conflict will help you figure those things out. A lot of times, especially early in relationships, people don't want to argue. Or they want to let stuff slide because they feel like, oh, well, if I bring this up, they'll be upset with me or they're not going to like me. But you have to kind of know where you stand with people and what they like and dislike. Otherwise, if you hold it all in, that's when you get into these big blow-ups and ugly things are said and feelings get hurt. And that's what we don't want. Now, this is the roof. These are the things that make the house complete. Number 6 is make life dreams come true. Create an atmosphere that encourages, talks about hopes, values, convictions, aspirations, and above all, honesty. It's pretty much self-explanatory. If you're asking your partner their hopes, dreams, aspirations, and your legit, well, for example, this year, since we're married, we're doing a lot of, dare I say, corny married stuff. One of the things that we did, we made a list of, I want to say 20 things. It said, let's do it together. It's our let's do it together list. Go hiking, walk across the Golden Gate Bridge, go to a park, go on a helicopter ride, stuff like that. It's stuff that we both want to do together so that now it gives us something to do. So when we have time off together, it's more of a learning opportunity, not a learning opportunity, but an opportunity to grow together closer and then have some fun stuff to do. So we can take pictures and hold. As a matter of fact, I've got some pictures that I'll put up for you guys. Don't forget Tru Sav Comedy at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. One of the things that we did also was we did goals for each other. So I did 5 goals. I had 5 things that I was going to do for her. She wrote down 5 things she was going to do for me. Or no, I take that back. Was it? Yeah, it was 5 things that she's brought up over time that I know she wants for me. 5 things that she's going to do for me. Or wait, 5 things I'm going to do for her, 5 things she's going to do for me. and then we did 5 that we're going to do for each other. So I think mine was like eat better, dress sexy, because I dress like a video game character. Same color shirt, same color jeans, same kind of shoes every day. I'm not a fashionista. I have no sense of style, anything like that. I can't remember hers off the top of my head. But then relationship stuff. Being better at communicating, not shutting down lines of communication, being more transparent, stuff like that. I mean, it's more work than a job. Like it's a 24-hour thing, I promise. Finally, we've come to the end. The very last top of the house. Create shared meaning. This is understand important visions, narratives, myths, metaphors about your relationship. I wish someone had told me this in the very beginning. But this is probably the most important thing. Because if you understand why people do things and what their goal is, it will help you understand. Like, for the longest time, I knew what my wife wanted to do, but I didn't know why. And when she explained to me that she had known her career path when she was, I don't know, 8, 9, it kind of made all the other decisions that she made fall into place, and I understood better. And conversely, when I explained to her how I thought I was going to be the greatest football player to ever do it since Bo Jackson and win World Series and Super Bowls and then be president and whatnot, she understood where I was coming from. And when this happened, it made everything in the relationship so much easier. Because now that we had these first steps, and then you add this last one, there was no need to question where I was going. There was no need to question why I was doing stuff, and vice versa. Conversely, I didn't need to question why she was doing stuff. I didn't need to explain to her how to talk to me. Now, that's not to say that there aren't some missteps or certain things that are going to come up that you're not going to see coming or argue about. But when you're applying these sorts of things to any relationship, not even just a romantic relationship, if you do these with your friends, it makes your relationship so much better. It's so easy, it's ridiculous. I feel like these are the sort of things that they should be teaching in school instead of Pythagorean's theorem or my man Edgar Allan Poe and Shakespeare and that type of stuff. It makes dealing with people that much easier, and that I don't know why this isn't common. Well, I know why it's not common knowledge, but it just seems to make things so much easier and so much lighthearted. And our relationship has grown so much, and I find it easier to tell other people, especially younger people, like, look, everyone's favorite analogy is happy wife, happy life. And I tell them, no, it's happy spouse, happy house. Because if you say happy wife, happy life, then it almost means that what your wants and needs aren't being identified or they're being made trivial. And that's not what the aim should be. It should be that both people are happy. Because if both people are happy, now you have a house. That's what it just seems like the right thing to do. Ooh, 58 minutes? Oh, well, I had to get that off my chest. It was serious. I've been thinking about that all day. Next week, I've got a very special episode. I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to leave you with one of the tales of Black Ass Mike. Let me think of a good one to leave you with. You know what? It's too early. I can't tell you a tale of Black Ass Mike. It's going to be a teaser. Again, questions, comments, concerns. I'm going to try to find those books that I talked about. The Respecting the Call, the shared, what was it? Oh my God. The House. Jesus Christ. What kind of house is it? Oh, the Sound Relationship House. I'll post that book. The other book with a couple about respecting the call. And then again, questions, comments, concerns, bestdayeverpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at TRUSAV comedy. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. You know what? I take it back. I will give you I will give you one story about Black Ass Mike. Okay. So I'll tell you how I met him next time. But I was at Black Ass Mike's house, and Black Ass Mike is one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. He could take a microwave apart and make a computer. But in terms of relationships, he's not that great. So I remember one time I was at his house and he had got an email. Again, this has to be 2005, 2006. And he's like, "Oh man, Tru Sav, you're never gonna believe it. I met this girl and she's so fine and this and this and this." I'm like, "Okay, that's what's up, Mike. What's she look like?" So he shows me the picture. I'm like, "Damn, she's fine, man. Where's she at?" He's like, "Oh man, she's from Africa." I was like, "Africa? Wait, but she lives out here, right?" He's like, nah. He's like, "Bro, but here's the thing. Like, her brother and her uncle took all her money because she's really a princess on the low." And in my mind, I'm thinking, this fool fell for that. But so I let him go. I was like, so go on. What happened? "Bro, she's a princess. And her brother and her uncle kept all her money. So I'm going to fly her out here, and then we're going to get some of the money back, and then we're going to be rich, and then we're going to be balling." And I was like, wait a minute. So she's rich, right? He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "But she needs you to give her money to fly out here?" Yeah, because I told you, her brother and her uncle got all the money. So as soon as I send her the ticket, she gonna fly out here and we gonna be together. And I was like, "How long have you been talking to her?" "Oh, bro, for like 6-7 months. Like, this the one, bro. This the one, Sav. I'm telling you." All right, my man. God bless. I'm sure God sent you this young lady. So he's like, "All right." So he sends her the plane ticket. Now, for those of you who don't know, a plane ticket to Africa is like $1,000-something, maybe more. I don't quote me. He might have got a deal. So I take him to the airport. So, and this was post 9/11, but you could still walk up to the gate at this point. Like, you could still walk up to the gate with no boarding pass and wait for people to get off. So we get to the airport, walk up to the gate. The flight came in. It transferred. She got into LaGuardia, then to Dallas. So it was a connecting flight from Dallas. So we're standing there, we're waiting, and we're watching people get off. We're watching people get off the plane, and all of a sudden, this guy gets off the plane that looks like Hakeem Olajuwon. He was 7 foot tall, black as the ace of spades at midnight, and I was like, "Oh, that's her." I didn't say it at the time. I didn't want to burst dude's bubble. So as he's leaving, he kind of looks at us funny. And in my mind, I'm thinking, "Oh, he is laughing on the inside right now." So the whole plane empties. And we're just kind of standing there. I'm like, "Hey, did you see her?" Like, I didn't see her. What did you? So he's like, "Yeah, I didn't see her. I don't know what happened." So we go back to the house. He sends a couple of emails off. No response. But I mean, we all know what happened. And that's Black Ass Mike right there, falling for the Nigerian princess scam in 2006. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh. But yeah, be sure to tune in next time for some amazing stories of Black Ass Mike. Yeah, bestdayeverpodcast@gmail.com. Questions, comments, concerns. Follow me at Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Tru Sav Comedy. All right, man, I'm going to holler at y'all.